Welcome to the Pet and Co talk show, and today we're going to cover a very important topic for all the parents out there because the summer season is up, and guess what? We're going to leave our fur babies in boarding facilities or in dog hotels, as we say. So I've got two very good leaders here, and let's bring them on the screen. Hello, Dr. Sarah and Master Ilyas, should I say?
Ilyas, plain would do.
Right, so Dr. Sarah for leading us in the veterinary aspect of veterinary clinic hospitals expert, and Ilyas, the leading one for kennel management.
Yes.
The first and foremost question is boarding facilities. Now the boarding season is coming up. Everybody's going to be on vacation or leaving the country for a few months, and they're going to leave their fur babies behind, and that is at the boarding facility. So what is the first thing, the first most important thing that comes up that you would want the parents to know before picking up a boarding facility?
I think first thing is that you want to choose your facility a long time before you need it and introduce your pet to that facility early. But when you're choosing facilities, you have two major aspects to look at. Those are the physical safety of your pet, and the second is the mental safety of your pet. So physical safety, Ilyas can answer some of these from the kennel side of it, because it is more about making sure that that's dog-proof.
Yes, look, the idea is to give back the dog exactly how you received it,
or better.
So there's a few things that need to be considered. One is the design of the facility and how safety measures are taken to maneuver dogs. Because when you're looking at boarding facilities, you're also looking at, in the same time, they're incorporating daycares. The dogs are not going to stay in rooms all day, no? So the dogs should have a program on how you maneuver your dogs through the facility, how the facility is cleaned, what materials are being used, in terms of, when the facility was built is very important. And other aspects would be, how you keep your books, I guess, in terms of... So every dog that comes to the facility needs to have a record, and the record is extremely important. You're taking medical history, you're taking into consideration allergies, you're taking into consideration behavioral issues. If the dog has a medical issue, maybe boarding facilities are not the best place to keep the dog, and it shouldn't be. And in the UAE, I don't know about if it's all of UAE, but I know for sure, I'm certain in Dubai, the municipality does not allow any boarding facility to administer medicines to dogs, meaning dogs in daycares or in boarding facilities have to be 100% healthy. And if the dog is on any medication and the owners have to travel, then the dogs should be boarding in veterinary clinics, if the clinics have that. Some clinics do. I know Dr. Sarah has that. And I prefer it, also, when you're dealing with,
I think it also depends what medical issue your pet's got. I mean, from the boarding facility, you need to make sure that the pet that you're taking in hasn't got any sort of illness that can spread to others. And that's the reason why we do vaccinations and things before they go in there. It's to reduce the spread of disease. But I think also from the facility's point of view, a lot of these medical issues are things that they're not trained to handle. If you've got a dog with heart disease, certainly as an owner and as a vet, we want those pets to be somewhere where anybody's going to recognise an early deterioration in that condition so that we can fix it, because problems are always fixed faster if we catch them earlier.
Let's start with the mental health of the dogs, because me as a parent, I'm terrified leaving my dog for a month in a boarding facility. I'm worried about their health, I'm worried about their how they are, what environment they're going to be in, what kind of handlers will be with them, how are they feeding them, what if they don't eat? Is somebody going to feed them again? Or they're just going to throw the food, or they're going to, all of these things. It fears.
Look, the struggle is real. You ideally are looking for, first of all, there has to be this transparency between you and the facility. And dog owners should create this relationship with the facilities. And they should always ask, for me to start with, I would ask, what in case something happens to my dog, or you see my dog's eating habits change, or toileting habits change, or the dog displays diarrhea, for example, what are you going to do? And I would appreciate it if you contact me so we can work a plan together. And dog owners need to also consider this, because many dog owners, they work on the fear factor of things, you know, and they clamp down on these facilities. And many of these facilities, you see, they start to get worried if something happens with the dog, of actually contacting the owners, and then they become, you know, they practice medicine themselves. And this is where we see a lot of errors. And, you know, there has to be sort of this come together between both. Owners need to calm down, you know, on this, and start to realize, like, you need a perfect partnership, and you choose your facility where you're keeping your dog with people who understand also to the medical aspects of keeping dogs. And when I say the medical aspects of keeping dogs is, you know, the staff is trained to deal with medical emergencies, or at least flag medical emergencies and take immediate actions to go to the vets, to the professionals. Unless you have a vet on board in your facility.
I think that's really important. But I'd take it down even further, is that without trust, you've got nothing. You know, and if you're going to leave your family member with people, you need to be able to trust that they're going to be looked after, and that needs to be in a professional, proper way. So you're right, you need to have a sort of escalation of what to do if your pet doesn't eat. Do you offer them, if they're not eating the normal food, do you feed them something like chicken or a different food to start off with to try and tempt them into eating? What happens at that stage? At which point do both parties pull the alarm bell and go and see the vets? And that's really, really important.
This is where we keep our forms. No? So we're feeding dogs their meals according to the let's say, the requirements that were listed by the client. And everybody has their own habits, you know, and when they like to feed their dogs. We try to, you know, make a schedule for everyone in the same time, but sometimes, you know, there's dogs that eat really late, and, you know, the clients are adamant on the late meals. And anyway, so what we do is we keep track of the intake of every dog. So I measure the food. Right, we weigh it. We actually weigh it. We weigh it for every single dog, and we weigh it, of course. You know, we weigh every single meal the dog is eating, because they're eating in grams, no? And then if the dog hasn't finished the food, we weigh that, and then we work out the percentage of how much he hasn't or she hasn't finished. So if, let's say, we are always playing in the realm of, I'm comfortable to play in the realm of 85% to 90%. I'm comfortable there, because sometimes it's change of environment, you know. The first week the dog can be unsettled. However, if it starts to drop beyond the 85%, and let's say the dog is not, you know, the dog, when the dogs are also eating, then typically inhaling their food, right? And, if the dog starts to slow down, we try to hand feed the dogs. I ideally like to hand feed all dogs. If the dog is not, that's for me a flag. If the dog is not eating from our hand at that time, that becomes a big red flag. But also you are looking at other things. You're looking at the stool function, you know, of what's happening with the urine and the activity of the dog. And we immediately, when we see a dip, we take the temperature of the dogs. So if all of these factors allow us to say, okay, it's here's a flag. We're informing the owner. Even if we don't get a response from the owner, we're immediately going to the vets. And then we can deal with the owner's, grief or why did you take my dog to the vet without me coming back to you? Here it's a matter of, the compass is towards the dog. It's no longer towards the owner things.
And that's something that also is signed in the agreement when people leave their animals with you, that if we can't contact you, we will do the best thing for your animals. That's got to be, 100%. From the veterinary side, from the boarding side, there's got to be, if you're on the beach somewhere and you're not answering your phone, then I don't want to feel as the hospital owner that I'm not going to take any action and let your pet deteriorate because I can't get hold of you. We need to have that understanding that if A, B and C happens, I have the authority to do D and E.
100%.
And say that's trust. That
you
is the trust
action,
before you go.
We have to take action. You cannot not take action.
But I think back to choosing facilities for boarding, back to sort of mental health, you've got aspects of it in there, And
let's start with, because who has the separation anxiety? Everybody thinks it's the dog having the separation anxiety, but from your experience, who do you think has the separation anxiety? Is it the owner?
Look,
or-
it's a separation.
most of it's the parents. I mean, it's actually been quite interesting seeing the number of staff members who've installed cameras in their homes to find out what their pets are doing. And it's hilarious how they will spend every moment checking to see whether they're asleep in the normal place. It's funny, they all know where their sleep points are in the house now.
Yeah. Ilyas, do you think we should have cameras in the kennels or in the boarding facilities?
Look, we do. We have to have cameras in the kennels, definitely, for the management to see what's going on. I think
For the owner?
No, really not. It is
for
not
the owner.
necessary. If you don't trust the place and you want a camera, don't put your dog there. What are you going to see? You're going to see your dog from, say, 6, 7 p.m., realistically, sitting in a room until next day. And if your dog pees in the room, and you see it on camera, let's say at 11 o'clock at night, 11 p.m., your dog pees in the room. By the time the handlers, the night shift, see it, if this facility doesn't have like every hour on the hour, they're checking the rooms. And the client is going to call us, my dog is in, and this is what you're looking at. And you're sort of distracting the real work.
Which is right. But I mean, from that side, it's also, I mean, you're saying that 1 at 11 o'clock at night. I think what's important in any facility is that you need to have that balance of check anyway between, if you like, the risk of the patient, and the ones in the boarding facilities shouldn't be at risk because they shouldn't have the medical conditions, versus the ones in the vets.
Yep.
And it's got to be that interplay between allowing you to sleep. Sleep is so important for all of us, our pets included, versus being woken up to check whether you did pee every 20 minutes. And yes, there's going to be accidents, but I still want to know that my pet can sleep and sleep properly. I don't want them poked every half hour to check that they're okay.
I agree.
If they're in a good, healthy state. Now, different from my side, if they're in my facility as a vet, because we want that observation, we want people checking them, which is why if any of us go into hospital, you're always exhausted when you come out because you've been woken up so many times to check you're alive.
We operate this way, to be honest. Like we have 24-hour shifts. We never at night. We always have 2 people. It's night shift. Their job is to be awake. Their job is to check the kennels every hour on the hour. Say you have the new dog, is being anxious, it's excessively barking, it's disturbing every other dog in the facility. These guys, their job is to deal with that dog, and try to calm that dog out. So we take the dog out, we take him to the play areas, we try to release the energy in a better way, to calm the dog. Maybe the dog can spend time that first night around, the team. So, you start to calm the dog slowly. And then during the day, because we get a report, of what happened with that dog at night, during the day, we start to cater for that. So the best time to start to crate train or, kennel train, in that case, the dogs, is during the day when people are around.
I was
So
about
we
to
start
ask,
to,
what is...
because you want to accommodate the dog. That you need the dog to calm down, to shut down,
Yeah.
You can't just always, here we tap into a very, this huge topic. Separation anxiety today is a huge topic. And the reasons and how you train for it and how you modify this behavior, if you like, is, different opinions. And there's different methods and there's different ways. And so much schools of thought today go into it.
Which, I mean, that's so important to find the solution to the problem, but you need to know what the problem is in the first place. And I think, if you're looking at the facility, these are things to look at with them, because this is what you want to know as a pet parent. Are any problems that you find with my pet or other pets? Because it's fine being the owner of the pet that's anxious, but every other dog in that facility has just lost a night's sleep because of him. So, how are you going to cater for both sides and look after both sides? And this is all about sort of the mental health of the pets. And again, that situation where in the daytime where you pile all the animals into this massive crowd in this room and expect them to get on with it, how are you looking after the mental health? What Ilyas is talking about here is your individual mental health and finding a solution to cater for your dog, for your individual.
Look, this is becoming a big challenge. The challenge is today is everybody comes with their dogs, and everybody has an opinion of what their dog is. And many people think their dogs are, great and stable dogs.
Amazing angels.
Everyone's dog is.
And when we're looking at these dogs and we see, the dogs are displaying these behaviors that can lead to escalations, severe anxieties can lead, and anxieties can lead to aggression. Dogs excessively barking in groups of dogs, they are unsettled. Dogs shutting down. You take all of this into consideration, and you have to start to sort of work for every dog individually. So the other day in the facility, we had a dog coming in. The dog is used to going to other daycares. I see the dog, and I'm looking at him, and he just continues to bark and bark and bark at the other dogs in play. And and we just did the sort of an introduction with one or two dogs. And for me, we were having this chat with the owner, and the owner, the dog's fine with other dogs. Fine, that's from your lens, yes. So the dog will say, okay, we'll see the dog. I would like you to keep the dog with us. So what we do is we take the dog and we start to work with the dog slowly. The idea is not just, okay, because he's socially nice. What's socially nice? In some people's world, socially nice means that the dog is not going to go and attack and fight other dogs. But that's not what it is in reality, Yeah. It's completely different from that. This is part of it. So what we want to do is to slowly integrate that dog into a group rather than overwhelm the dog. And he's yapping here and jumping here. And eventually he's going to create chaos. And that chaos is going to lead to a squabble between the dogs.
Yeah.
And this is what we do not want to have.
I mean, that's what I was saying before about crowd control versus positive training. And I say positive training might not be the right word. It's more about positive experiences, and positive experiences becomes positive mental health. If you place your dog in a scary environment, then what's going to happen? I think I was talking to you earlier about a group of people. If you put a group of people in a room and you put two socially inept people in the room, so let's say you've got a massive range of people, you put in a person who's overly friendly and a person who's incredibly nervous and won't speak to anyone. What will happen is that the overly friendly person goes and intrudes on other people's space. They go around and they do the equivalent of poking, and if you've got that massive range of people, dogs in the room, then somebody's going to snap. Yep. And if you get overly poked, it doesn't matter if they're being friendly. It's not about them being aggressive. It's about them just invading somebody's space until they snap. Yeah,
100%. It's like you in an elevator. You enter an elevator, you're alone standing in the elevator, and someone enters, and there's all this space in the elevator and stands next to you.
Yes.
It might make you feel uncomfortable. But the moment they start, for example, let's say this person, starts to come closer, what you're going to do? Either you're going to shut down or you're going to push that person.
Yeah.
And if you push that person, doesn't mean you're a bad person. You're defending yourself at that stage. And space works in the same way. And dogs, how they perceive their own space is different. So many dogs, they come with bad social skills, if you like, because the way socialization today is portrayed is taking your dogs to dog parks, making them play with 100 dogs, and then let them meet X amount of people, and nobody's really focused on the quality of the experience. And when we mean socially good dogs, is dogs that are you're going for example, breakfast, your dog is sitting next to you, it is non-reactive.
Yeah.
This is one of the most important things. I don't care if that non-reactive dog is playing with another 50 dogs. As far as I'm concerned, he is not going to react to anything.
I think that's an entirely different topic that we really have to cover.
But it plays a big role.
Because socializing is...
Socializing is different, but I mean, what you're trying to say in your facility is to try and make it so that these groups that they're in are controlled, that their behavior is watched, managed, so that you know what they're doing. Back to that group in a room. If you divide that group into a couple of teams of football players and give them a game and give them direction, they're going to manage a lot better. And and that socially overly friendly person is managed because they have rules of engagement. Yeah. So therefore they're controlled. And in your boarding facility, that can be done. And I say, that then provides a positive reinforcement. Again, what you don't want to do is have your pets in a facility where their response to a handler, let's say that they're in a room where they're bullied by other dogs, and then they take a inappropriate amount of contact with the person who's in charge because they're looking at that person to defend them, and it becomes almost a Stockholm syndrome. So you take your dog to the boarding facility and say, oh yes, my dog always loves going to John and he spends his whole time with John all day. And actually it is a Stockholm syndrome because this dog believes that John is saving him from all the nasties out there, and we need to look at controlling the nasties so that John doesn't become a big part in his life, because
100%.
That's not healthy.
So today, to answer your question, what you're looking for is facilities that know how to manage crowds of dogs. There has to be guided social play. It's not just, play social grounds. This doesn't work. You need to have someone who knows how to keep the records, staff trained to handle these situations, to deal with medical, emergencies, to take action, taking action, transparency with the client, regular updates to the clients. And you can find most of that information from when they were receiving your dog.
Yeah.
They're asking you for that details, and give the details.
Do you think it's fair for the owners to keep asking questions, or there should be a time for them? Because I could be asking questions every hour. Is my dog okay now? Is my dog eating
I understand it.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming to us because,
You're handling.
I think the honest answer is every 5 minutes that I'm dealing with you is 5 minutes I'm not dealing with your dog. So there has to be a happy medium there. And I think whenever you drop your dogs off at the vets, at the boarding facilities, there should be an agreed engagement as to what's going to happen. Whether that's daily WhatsApp videos, twice daily WhatsApp videos to let them know what's happening. I mean, from my side, we often have more interactions if they're in a veterinary facility because there are more changes and more things happening. But I think for you as well, if your dog's in a boarding facility, they're there because you trust the people to look after them. And if you trust the people to look after them, it's because you can't for whatever reason. You're either on holiday or you're dealing with issues somewhere else, so you can't be with your dog. So you need to also remember that if you're not there, you need to take the time to deal with the issues that make you not there.
I'm just going to say it how it is. Today, all the good work that facilities like us do is come down to the judgment of if the client doesn't receive, the picture or the, message is delayed on how the dog is doing. It's like you haven't done anything throughout the day with the dog. But people really underestimate, in our facility, how much we have to do throughout the day to achieve our program.
And the fact that you have 100 dogs and 100 dogs.
And today, the business cannot be judged on, the operation cannot be judged on a photograph that looks beautiful. I have people telling me, we have this multimedia team in the facility, and we send, we try to send this high-res, high-quality pictures, and I think we do a really good job at it. But sometimes, you're sending these snap, shots, very beautiful, action shots, and the dog is, in different poses, and then you get the client telling you, "Why is my dog not happy? He's not smiling in the picture." It fails me. When I get a picture like this, an answer like this, I don't know what to even say to this. The dog is not smiling.
It's. It is the difference between a picture and a video, or the difference between we get asked something like, show me this picture and tell me what's wrong with the dog, and you say, well, if you gave me a picture of yourself age 6 and asked me what sort of person you're going to grow into, I can't tell you that. If you show me some videos and do stuff, then yes, we can deal with that. But so much of it is about handling and doing.
Agreed. And
everything's in context.
When I look at videos of dogs in social groups, in facilities, what I'm looking at is, not the dogs running because they are happy. What I'm looking at is the actual social interaction between all of the dogs, and what you see is like a scattered chart. You see, there's the 2-3 troublemakers in between, and there's zooming high, and there's another group, and they're shifting, and they're moving from the left to the right, and people think the dogs are having fun. Are they?
Yeah.
You know, they're sort of in avoidance. You know, they're trying to move, and then dogs, they get hyper aroused, and some dogs, you know, they're having none of it, and they, you know, you trigger, the dogs get triggered, and then things can escalate. So what you see is the, you know, that interaction, and everyone thinks that, yeah, this is the beautiful interaction, but it's not.
No.
In reality, you want, you know, the groups to be guided always. And, you know, don't get misguided with what you see. I honestly say this, you know, I invite anyone, anytime, any day, to walk into our facility and see and spend time with us to see how we are working. You know, and they can walk into the back of the house. They can, you know, walk into the kennel areas. They can walk in, you know, through the school. You know, you walk, you stand on the side, see what we're doing things. For me, if a client calls me and tells me, you know, I haven't received any update, can I come to the facility? That's the best thing for me. Come and see exactly what we're doing. You know, because
I think that's what I was going to ask before we leave, you know, for this topic and we continue to the next one. What is the advice or a tip that you would want to give to everyone, you know, watching, listening here? That, and I think it would be directed to the dog owners before leaving their dogs. What is it from the kennel perspective, from the clinic or veterinary perspective? What is it that you would want to tell them?
I want to know from the veterinary side that the dog is going to be safe in that facility. So I want to know that the training's in place, that the medical guidelines are in place for what they do, that the cleaning, all of those things are in place to stop my animal getting sick or to stop my client's animal getting sick. I think it would be safe to say that if I'm going to leave an animal with someone for a while, I don't want to just say, here's my dog. It's like saying to a stranger, here are the keys for my house, look after it for the next 2 months. We wouldn't do that. We'd actually have a few meetings with the person first. We'd get some references. We'd know more about them. And the same with a facility. I would like to think that if I'm going to leave my dog with you for 2 months, that we did a few sessions first, that you know what my dog's like, that we know each other and we build up a relationship and a trust between us before we do that.
We need to understand what we're dealing with. And I totally agree with you. For me, the principle is animal husbandry, you know, welfare and enrichment. It's exactly how you manage kennels. Daycares, the term daycare has nothing to do with the management of dogs. And boarding is also just another, you know, made name. The science of keeping dogs in a group and sleeping in a facility is called a kennel, and kennels have science to manage them, and you manage them through following the highest standards of healthcare to prevent infection control. You know, you're controlling your infection. There's programs and protocols that go into everything, and if something is triggered, there's a flag. The flag goes into the system. Okay, and we're in yellow code now, and yellow code is meaning a dog has, for example, you know, diarrhea. Which group was this dog with? Isolate this group, inform the owner, sanitize the area, and change the formula.
See, I mean, this 90% of accidents can be avoided by pre-planning, and what you're talking about is pre-planning to avoid the accidents, which is what we all need.
So then the owners can do pre-planning, and then they can get acquainted with the facility.
When we see the dog, you know, sometimes owners are also very nice. You know, they come in, they understand that it's for the first time for the dog in the facility, and we say, okay, why don't you send the dog here for daycare, you know, school, a few days. You know, back to back. Let's do the first time 2 hours, then 4 hours, and then we do the full day. You know, so the dog gets acclimatized. And what we're doing is we're kenneling the dog, right, to get the dog used to and stay in that environment. And you know, the program is so. You know, in the end, is you follow the healthcare guidelines. Facility is designed properly to deal with the maneuvering of dogs and to avoid creating zones of conflict. Zones of conflict can easily be created within facilities when you're maneuvering dogs, especially for cleaning as well. So these are things that you're looking at as like, where are the dogs going when they're cleaning the facilities?
Right. I think what I would want to tell everybody that there are a lot of questions that they would, you know, have. There are a lot of things that they would want to know, and obviously this is limited time. But what you can do is you can always catch Ilyas at Everything Dog and Dr. Sarah at the British Veterinary Hospital. I hope they don't crowd you, and then everybody's standing outside and saying, "We've got questions." But is that okay if they come and they have more queries and they want to know more from you?
Absolutely. I think our aim through all of this we're doing is to increase knowledge. If we have more knowledge, more understanding, then we all do a better job.
So what's the best that they can reach you?
for us, they can call us anytime. They can ask for me, and I'll gladly take the call. Information is for free. And, we like to give out this information like Dr. Sarah was saying. And the idea is to educate, the bottom line is the compass towards the dog. I always say this, if I'm able to tell you one or two things that can be very important to your dog's health and quality of life, and it changes your mind and your perception, or it improves on what you've actually, it's perfect for us. This is why we're doing this.
That's amazing. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, Ilyas. I think we'll
Welcome.
be back again with another interesting topic for everybody.
Thank you very much.